as well. There's that idea that I'll just start.
It's all right. You carry on.
No, we'll start.
Finish that. Okay.
Hi there.
Hi, everybody.
And that's the secret to masks.
Yay!
Very good.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the final Meet the Practitioner. This is like the hardcore bunch who are here.
The hangers on.
The malingerers.
It's Saturday. It's the end of the festival. We've had a great week actually with basically all of the people who've done workshops with us, minus Nick Barnes. I don't know why that happened.
Because he's busy building puppets, so
he's a busy man. He's a busy builder.
It's still happening. They're just finishing. Is today or tomorrow?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So they've done a 6-day making workshop, which sounds intense but awesome.
And did those get showcased at all? Do we see them?
Perhaps. I mean, the thing is, today was the last day, and now we've just got the party this evening. But some people might bring their.
They brought them to the party. Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah,
good.
Do they need
I'll
to
send
do they need to message that now?
Well, yeah, you're supposed to come dressed as your favourite puppet, remember, to the party.
I brought
this
a change
evening.
of clothes, so I thought that could count as a puppet costume. Just change how
You change the... No problem. Hello, welcome. So we've had Gavin Glover, we've had Fiona Clift from Blind Summit, we had Stephen Mottram, and today it's Steve Jarand. Is that right?
Jarand.
Clap, clap, clap. So some of these guys, is it you three that were in the workshop?
Yes, it was free.
Yeah, you three. So you've just had an intense day of mask work with your workshop that's been around the world. I wondered, to start off, to kind of contextualise mask and puppetry. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about what you see as the relationship between mask and puppetry. That's probably a good question to start with.
That's deep right away.
Mm-hmm. Straight in.
None of this like, I was born in... No. I think it came up a little bit today naturally. Is that right? I mean, at some points when we felt like we were trying to do what the audience wanted rather than what the actor wanted, rather than getting caught up in, I feel this, and as a player, my emotions, I need to nurture them and grow them. To see that the face is strong, even though it's your body, you're serving the face. So at least those moments where you look at the audience, you're kind of puppeteering the face. You're kind of saying, this thing is communicating to you, even though it's not moving, and I'm the one who you kind of see it against. Mm-hmm. See it through, but you really see it alongside of the body. Mm-hmm. And there's something that happens with the relationship with the neck, and then the other things happening in the bodies that aren't connected, but we're always reading both. We're going face, body, I think constantly. So I think we're very much...
Welcome. Some latecomers. We were really deep in conversation.
We were at least inside
Thanks very much,
face.
Nick. That was great.
It was good. Hi guys.
Hi.
Let's. I think that's a really interesting point, and I think we should pick it up with some of the questions that come out. Could you also describe, just so we're all on the same page, your style of mask, and where it came from, and what draws you to that style of mask as a performer and as a teacher?
Okay. Well, we brought... Will asked me to bring full masks to this course, but I'll just briefly talk about the other style of mask that I develop, which is half masks. And this is, it's a technique by Keith Johnstone, who is an improv guru, you could say. He's still around, he's still teaching, barely. Once he gets on the couch, it's hard to get him off. But But he developed improvisation techniques with this half mask, which he calls, or we now call, trance masks, because he wanted to know how improvisers and performers in general can follow feelings and have creativity happen naturally without you trying to do anything, without you getting invested in your own ideas. So trying to keep it in the feeling realm. The idea that if we're feeling something, if we're really in the moment, if we're really reacting, then that's enough. The stories and the meaning will kind of follow behind that, rather than the way most improvisers or practitioners start. They start with the ideas and they construct it so that the feelings and the reactions make sense. But to me, that's a little, I'm not very cerebral, or I'm not crafty enough with my cerebral to make it look like it's something special and real. Mm-hmm. So I gravitated towards this, just have the mask lead you with a feeling and see if you can then like civilize or mature that powerful feeling into some kind of story, or then go with relationships from there, or go with like some kind of meaning. Mm-hmm. So there's that, the trance masks that just sweep you away and you try to follow, or you let yourself be played in a way. So in a way, you're kind of the puppet there. You're kind of letting, it's in the way that possession is kind of puppetry. You're allowing your body to be really taken over. And I do see the puppetry I like, or the element of puppetry that I often look for, is when the puppet takes over the person as well. That there's really, it's not a one-way manipulation. I'm so skilled that I can trick you into thinking there's a life here and there's a lot going on, that you actually let it take you over. Mm-hmm. You let it live and you follow what it needs to do. Mm-hmm. Whether that means it's leading you physically around the room, or whether it surprises you with what it says or does, or how it says or does things. To me, that's a really important element. And so to me, that's the mask, and the mask work and puppetry can overlap in that way.
That's really interesting. I might have mentioned it in another talk, but I remember seeing a sort of video of a puppeteer saying, as the puppeteer are just helping this character do what they need. You know, you're not operating it, you are just assisting. And I think people who've done some level of puppetry kind of are aware of that, because you don't quite know how a puppet is going to behave when you pick it up. You kind of find its character, and it is a very kind of two-way process. This whole idea of letting the mask kind of encompass you, or being led by the mask, do you think that's something that puppeteers kind of need, is a really beneficial thing for a puppeteer to learn?
I think so. I think, to me, it's the missing element.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the missing element in improvisation, and I guess you could say acting, where you feel like they're not in control, mm-hmm. that there's something else, and it usually has something to do with a connection to and an awareness of what the audience is feeling or what it wants, and that is leading you rather than your expertise. Mm-hmm. To me, it should be a generous and humbling kind of practice, being an artist. So you don't look perfect, you don't look in control, you look open, you look vulnerable, you can expose yourself. And so in terms of mask and puppetry, that side of it seems to be, I get to be manipulated for your benefit. So can the puppet, can it manipulate me? Can I learn from it and take from it as well?
That's really lovely.
It should be an element in the puppetry too, sooner or later. I mean, with ping pong balls, why not? His stuff is different, maybe, Stephen Mottram, where it's so special that you're pulled in, and you don't need to see him being like, whoa! I can't control where the balls go. So that's maybe another kind of vocabulary that.
But you talking about that openness, that I think it still comes from that vulnerability. You know, there is a sort of truth, or there
It's a discovery. We can't be afraid to discover things right now. They should go against our expectations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
please fire
listening
away.
to Stephen Marshall's Q&A yesterday made a lot of sense of it for me, because I feel like with him that openness is that he just has the balls to be that eccentric guy who will just go, ping pong balls are cool, and then do it for years and make it perfect. You know what I mean? And it's like, it feels like that's the, like he talked about, he was talking about something about, like, an audience can see the authenticity, even if it doesn't quite translate as a story. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. But you saying that vulnerability thing really kind of rang true, because I think Stephen is very vulnerable out there with sort of ping pong balls, in the same way that perhaps in good mask work, this is about being open and honest and authentic, and I think that's really interesting. Anyway, we should open it up for questions. Yes, Kate.
I'm interested, obviously I didn't get to you, how much of the taking over of masks and of this openness comes through, like, let's my question first. I find puppetry very powerful when it's non-verbal, because it's quite ambiguous. How, I don't know what this question is that I'm trying to ask, but like how much, because a lot of when puppets take over, it's because they say something that surprises us, or they allow us to say things that potentially we wouldn't say as humans. Mm-hmm. But how does that, and how does in the mask work, how does it work if it is non-verbal?
Well, in the description of the kind of, it's physically and sort of tactile or emotionally out of your control, that's sort of more the half mask technique. Mm. And then the full masks, I think, are a little more about what you're kind of referring to, the sort of the nonverbal, the slower, the listening, the more sensitive. And so to me, whereas the half masks are wild and will kind of swing you around to places where you're not prepared for. In the full masks, it's more like the not knowing. It's like in the middle ground. It's like being suspended rather than being like always surprised and always flung around. We find what's really effective in the full masks is just the in between. They can really live in the I don't know yet, or I don't know anything, or I do know but now I don't. And so there's a certain, you can latch on to that and hold it you can sustain it quite a bit in a full mask, being hidden. You can play dumb very nicely in a full mask because you're blind and you're a bit deaf and it's hot, and so you can kind of, you're open that way, you're vulnerable by going, what? I don't know anything, please help me. And so you keep turning to the audience and saying, is this okay? Is this right? I don't know.
Is the not knowing is a personal thing for the wearer of the mask, or is that for the audience as well to not really know? That
the audience shouldn't know?
Yeah, what's...
No, I think it's on your side. Mm. As the player, you're saying, I don't know, you're the expert. They're the expert in their story, right? Everybody comes to a show to kind of, I think it's Randy Dixon, an improviser, director, who says people don't come to see stories, they come to tell stories to a show. They come to tell their story through you, have it exposed, have it told. And so they know, the audience know what they want, where they're coming from, and instinctively they're projecting their experiences onto what you're doing. So if you haven't shut the door to 30, 40, 90% of people's experiences, then you start to look talented in that openness and in that vulnerability, because you've allowed them to project, if not their whole story, at least moments from their world or their life, or even their desires, their projections. It's just a feeling thing where people go, yeah, that rings true for me. And this, so there's specific things you can hit with, like, something happens and they go, ooh, I remember when I felt like that. But you can also, just to be fallible, just to be human, just for have bad shit to happen to you and you not know why, is a general thing that people can kind of connect to. It's like, yeah, I also am falling down when I thought I was the strongest, or as soon as I thought I knew something, I didn't know anything. You know, or as soon as I wanted something and got it, then the next thing happened and I was unhappy again. You know, all these issues that we have with our own mental patterns that make us, well, I think, essentially unsettled. We live unsettled mentally most of the time. It's nice to see that played out, because we can at least give it a focus. We can say, yes, I'm like that. I'm also weak. I'm also human and fallible. So I think the full masks can quite easily tap into that tragic side of our nature. Yes.
I wasn't at your workshop.
You weren't?
No.
I thought.
Really
I
sorry.
thought your full mask work was.
Yeah.
No, okay, it wasn't you. Yeah.
This is just the mask of the guy that was there.
Oh,
Looks like me. Yeah.
Okay.
So I do masked work when I play non-humans.
Okay.
I've got a lovely set of red deer antlers that I wear with a full sort of leather mask of the deer.
Okay.
And as part of a group, and we do sort of slightly mythologically led, leading people through the woods and that, and we're just doing it as complete novices because it's really fucking interesting, and it takes the people that we take through the woods on an interesting journeys, and we're never too specific, and we just try to develop our own characters in our own way. But it'd be interesting to me to know how much you think that you ready yourself to a particular character beforehand, and also how you go about playing characters that are very unlike you, like an animal, for example, or just a very different human. If you only do humans. Is there lots of prep in terms of character and getting yourself into very specific spaces with a narrative, with a fixed narrative?
For the work that I do, that we're doing with these, I think I'll just take one or two out, because then we can kind of have a reference to what we're talking about. If a face is looking at you, what a possible face might be in this tradition or this technique that I'm using. So no, I try not to make decisions about it, and not to prepare what's going on, and not to have a background and all that stuff.
Right.
In terms of that work where you are a thing and you need to play a functional role, well, I think there's other ways to make it transportive for you and for the people.
Yeah.
You know, if you're playing an animal, wow, what an amazing thing to serve a creature and to become something that is that special, that you can never know its world, you can never know its realm and its feelings, and what an honor to try and to take that on for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it is different because you're not improvising human moments the way we are. That's what we're trying to do. In the way I like to approach these full masks is to play, if not against the face, just sort of more open to the expression. So to me, I'm not so interested in the skill of enlivening or embodying this expression. I think actually that's fairly easy, fairly simple, and I just like to step over it and move to what's missing here. Move to the layers. When we're in class or when we put these masks on stage, people are constantly reacting to the mixed messages and the feelings that have complexity and layers to them. They don't react to you playing a type. They just don't. They don't react to you talking with your hands. They don't react to you being mechanical and being obvious. There's only this like release and, you know, sounds and camaraderie and laughter when something with 2 or 3 or 4 layers pop up at a moment. And then we go, ha ha, because I'm that complex, I'm that guy, I'm not two-dimensional, I'm not cartoon. So then we get the reaction of recognition. So I try to make masks that have a few things going on in them, or something quite strong, and then we try to put them in situations where the other layer happens. Not always. Actually, I don't know the equation, because this guy, for example, probably does scared very well, but he could also be like president. You know, he could be like
anyone could have
in charge of this festival, damn it.
Yeah.
If he had to. And so that's, to me, more interesting to explore. Yes?
I'm interested in how you manage the not knowing when you're inside the mask with still doing actions. Because when I did it today, sometimes wearing the mask I really wouldn't know. And then I'd want to wait until something happens that I feel like I could respond to instinctively, but sometimes that just doesn't happen, and as an audience on the other side it seemed much clearer, and I sometimes seeing the not knowing really worked, but then sometimes you wanted an action to happen really badly. And I'm just interested in how you balance not knowing without becoming paralysed, or if you know, or if you haven't known for a long time, how to move past that place.
I think everyone will be at a different level there. So there will be some people that have a hard time not knowing, have a hard time being in that in-between dumb place of like, what just happened? I don't know. They're kind of aware and in control too much. So if you say that, oh, you were so innocent that you couldn't actually know what to do next, kind of a cool problem to have. But for you, I would say the easiest way through that, or to start training to also see what's there, is to make your setup and to roll through the scenario as simply as possible. Make things dead simple so that even you in your stunned, blind silence will see it and will know it. And then you'll be able to work both together. If the whole scene is about do I sit or don't I sit, you'll probably notice stuff, right? Because you're there, you're allowed to look at it. You're like, hi, and you don't know anything. And then you look down and you go, big blue thing, hi. Oh, big blue thing, right? And slowly you move forward, seeing what we see, understanding what we want to come next, but still going back to the, do I know anything at all? Sitting, wow, sitting, standing, and now you're putting things together, but it's obvious. So be more obvious, and don't add the elements in too early, because then you'll be back in your head trying to file and extract what's right, what's more important, where each one is. That's our problem, is we don't know how to build things economically and to use what's there for longer, so that when the time ripens, we know when to move on.
How important is the sense of play with what you do?
8.5. I think it's always important. In any creative endeavor, it's got to be joyous. It's got to be a kick back to childhood and discovering things together and fancy and play and all that. Absolutely. Do you have a angle about why you wonder about that?
You're talking about improv.
Yeah.
Is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't really know you or your company or anything like that. But just from hearing, I see that there is an importance of sense of play with what you do, and I just want to explore that. So you put on a mask, and then you just play and discover.
Well, when we put these masks on, I think we want people to be like the sense of discovery is the fun thing. It's fun to not have this burden about you're supposed to know stuff, which is our burden we have all the time. And so you start with a kind of like optimistic innocence or thing, and then if you find actual play, all the better. If people love something and you do it again, or if you get into trouble in the mask, or you look in a stupid way and you don't realize how funny that is, then play more, keep playing with it. But yeah, it's important for the optimism, for the play, for the relief of like having to be right. And then also it's important because then if we go to something opposite, we go to the pain or the tragedy, then we see them in relation to each other and they both become more powerful. If it's just been kind of humdrum and then tragedy, we kind of go, what's hard, man? But if it's been like raucously funny and then suddenly, boom, the rug is pulled out from our buddy, we're just like, wow, I get it. And if someone is really tough and serious and hard or horrible, and then it's funny, it's way more funny. But that's not just masks, that's just sort of drama, yeah.
So do you make your masks?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you make them, you must have an idea about...
No,
No?
not
Okay,
usually.
So you mustn't have an idea about...
Well, you can try. I sometimes try to have an idea. It's just it doesn't work. It's like I have sort of an idea, and maybe I have an image, and then I start molding the clay, and I kind of go, yeah, but not quite what I wanted, and this thing's happening, so I better follow that. So I suppose there are people that.
But when you finish the mask, because you've responded to the material, you then must have an idea of, well, maybe you mustn't, of how it works and how it is.
I don't know for sure, but you get an idea if it will read or not, because even not on a person, you're kind of like drawn to it or not. It's kind of alive or it's not.
What is that? Is there something tangible, or is it just a sort of magic? Oh,
it's a magic combination of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've tried to hone it down to like, well, it's mostly the eyes, and if it's wide eyes, it'll be innocent, and we'll feel for it. But maybe not. Maybe it's like got all what it's supposed to have to look like cute and wide-eyed, but you kind of don't care. Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, but it could be. You don't know.
Or is there something that makes a mask bad, like something?
Lots.
Okay.
There's lots. Some things because we do mask making courses, and so I see a lot of common mistakes that weaken a mask. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of them is to have it be too neutral and symmetrical. Another is to make points, have like pointed bended features rather than fleshy, rounded, hanging, fleshy features. Did I say fleshy? Another is to have a straight mouth. Another is to have big eyebrow ridge that is in place of actual eyebrows and flesh that has kind of motion. Another is to add things that we couldn't have on our face, like a stick out this way and a nose that's over here and teeth that's down here, where you kind of go, whoa, no, that couldn't happen. It's not just extreme expression, it's that structurally wouldn't be on a human. And then our mind says, I gotta figure this out. We're not in it in an empathetic way, we're figuring it out, we're analyzing. It becomes symbolic, and we have to kind of navigate symbolism for what, why, and suddenly we're in our heads. And I think it's a problem for a player or for a production if the mask is impossible in terms of features or color. If it's painted really flat, we kind of go, okay, it's kind of a cartoon, and do I treat it like a cartoon? Should I care? I don't know. And you're back in your head. Yeah. Or if it's green, this was just green, you'd be like, that's green. Cut, and it's too late to me.
Yeah. It's that balance. We're going to have to wrap up quite soon. We've got a question here and a question here.
I was just going to ask, how important do you feel it is to make your own masks as a performer?
Oh, I don't think it's super important, but I think you can learn a lot, and you can also you get more masks that way if you're doing it, right? Otherwise, you're always relying on someone else and waiting and buying, and so. But yeah, you don't have to make costumes to do a play. You don't have to make the masks, but I recommend it to build the community more than it helps. You only can play it if you made it.
Similar to puppetry, mask is something that probably most lay people who've never experienced putting on a mask, other than maybe for a Halloween thing, sort of go, oh yeah, masks, and they sort of know a lot of, they know about it. There's sort of stuff in the culture that we know about masks, and there's stuff in the culture we know about puppets. Do you find in your work that you are, how much of your work is using that general sort of cultural understanding of what a mask is, and how much of it is working against that preconceived idea that people might arrive at a workshop with? Or have that never been a consideration?
Well, I try not to think about it, no.
Great.
But I would say a little more trying to work against it. So I think people, if I thought about it, have a fairly narrow and at least partly negative view of mask work and types and when masks are worn. And so I try to have this be a fresh way to look at them and integrate them into shows and into improvisation, the practice of being fresh and human and collaborative. Then we kind of bring the mask into that world and sneak them in, and hopefully have people have a good experience watching them. And then they get another sense of, oh, masks are cool, masks are fun, but also it just kind of fit, and I don't overly judge it too much. I don't want to explode that contrast too much, it's a revolution of the good masks or something.
Yeah.
But I suppose the other comes into it too, that there's a certain cachet where you're like, there'll be masks. I'll come see that, yeah.
Okay, big thanks. Peace out.
Good job. Have a look? Yeah, we can pass these around.
Yeah. So do stick around for a bit. The next thing is C's of Organillo. which is on Northern Stage at 8 p.m. And if you've got any feedback on this event in particular, then do fill out a form if you're not completely sick of filling them out already. I think that's about it.
And thank you, Matt. I don't know who anyone else has been to any of the Q&As, but like they've been, this is obviously the last one, but they've been really insightful, especially for people who didn't get to come into the courses. It's really nice to have those conversations. So
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And tonight we can sleep after the party.
Not until late.